Hello everyone, my name is Sniping Spawn, and I welcome you back to my next video here on YouTube, my next top 10 list here on YouTube, another video game related topic, another Switch related topic. But the last time we did this, it was about newer generation Switch games, games I still want to see come to Switch, like these big third-party games, these big games that came out this year, last year, year before that, games that still have not come to the Switch. And the history of the Switch is that sometimes these games come out later and they get later releases. So that's why I did that list, because some of them are games I still, and many other gamers still, want to see brought to the Nintendo Switch. Today's topic's a little bit different, and it's about Wii and Wii U games I would still like to see brought to the Nintendo Switch. And since the Switch's inception, since it came out in 2017, numerous Wii and Wii U games have been ported over and upgraded for the Nintendo Switch. Zelda Skyward Sword, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, Rayman Legends, freaking Xenoblade Chronicles, Pokken Tournament, numerous games, a bunch of games from Nintendo, first and second party, and from third parties, whether they were exclusive or multi-plat or whatever the heck. A lot of games have come over to the system in the last 5 years. So it's it is a thing, and it has happened a lot, but I do see a bunch of games still brought up by a lot of gamers, that, and myself included, I bring them up too, that I still want to see brought over. I still would like to see these games brought over to Switch, and still think there's a potential chance, because there's still a bunch of games out there, for games to still get a second life on the Switch. HD remastering Wii games, just porting over, Wii U games. There's a lot of potential there the Switch can have with not just newer generation games and bringing out newer exclusives and newer multiplats, but also bringing back the past and giving some of these games a second chance at life and a second chance at sales. So that's what I'm going to be talking about here today. The top 10 Wii and Wii U games I still feel should be brought over to the Nintendo Switch. And with that said, let's start with number 10. And this is a fighting game that came out on the Wii U. It was, I think, a launch game, if I recall. And the franchise has had history on Nintendo, although it's mostly a Sony and Microsoft franchise. But it does have a history on Nintendo, and there's a fan base on Nintendo, and there's a love for the franchise on Nintendo, as little as it's been on Nintendo. And they do now have a character in Smash Brothers, and that's Tekken Tag Tournament 2. I mean, I think on my main list, I still want to see Tekken 7. I still feel Tekken 7 should be brought over to the Nintendo Switch. I still feel it's possible to come to the Nintendo Switch. It's a freaking fighting game that's not super graphically inputting all this stuff. It's a freaking fighting game. I still think Tekken 7 can come over, but I would love to see Tekken Tag Tournament 2 get a second life, especially because that version of the game had some Nintendo exclusive costumes and stuff and modes. And Nintendo fans do like their fighting games. Kazuya is now in Smash Brothers. The franchise has a history on there, so there is a love for Tekken on Nintendo platform. It was on the Game Boy Advance. It was on the 3DS. It has a history there. And now the Wii U, I would still like to see more Tekken love on Nintendo Namco, and Tekken Tag Tournament 2 is definitely one of them, because Tekken Tag Tournament 2 was a really, really good, fun fighting game. I mean, I think in some aspects it was better than the first Tag Tournament. In certain other aspects it wasn't, but it was still in itself really still fun. And whether or not we get Tekken 7, I don't know, but I would still like to see Tekken Tag Tournament 2 come to the Nintendo Switch, because I think there's a market for it, and I do think it's a good step to bring more fighting games to the Switch, more Namco games to the Switch. Tekken is currently lacking on the Switch, besides freaking Kazuya being in Smash Bros. Ultimate. Namco, more of your games on Nintendo Switch, please. Number 9. This is going to be going back to the Wii, and this game was originally released back on the PlayStation 1, but they did a remake of it on the Wii, and I would love to see that remake just remastered into HD and whatnot, and that's the Klonoa remake. Klonoa was a freaking fun as hell game, I think, from Namco. I think Klonoa is a Namco franchise, if I recall correctly. Yeah, they have Pac-Man references. Yeah, that's Namco now. Klonoa was a fun platforming game back on the PS1, and they did a sequel to it on PS2, but they remade the original game on Nintendo Wii, and I really played into that one, and it had really good, cutesy anime-esque chibi visuals, and it's a simplistic, platforming game. It's not kind of an in-depth story, but it was very graphically, for an non-HD system, really good graphics, fun, gameplay and whatnot. It's a fun, great franchise. Like, I'm surprised Namco hasn't done anything new with Klonoa in like forever. And I think a good, easy step to trying to get the name of Klonoa back out there is bring back the remake that they did of the first Klonoa game on the Nintendo Wii. And what better place to throw it than the Nintendo Switch, which is the biggest selling console this generation. It's currently the biggest selling 9th generation console. And it could easily be the best place to market the return of Klonoa. And the easiest way to do that is just HD remaster it and throw it on the Switch. Number 8. This is going another Wii game from a franchise that, now this franchise has quite a bit of history dating on Nintendo back to the DS and on the Wii, but we haven't seen anything from it as far as I know, unless, they've been small releases since the Wii, and that's Trauma Team. Now, I think a lot of people would say it's the Trauma Center franchise. A lot of people would say, why don't you just do the original Trauma Center or Trauma Center Second Opinion, like the actual mainline Trauma Center games. I think Trauma Team, was just more of a complete package of a game. It had multiple characters, you did multiple different types of surgeries. It was more in depth, I think, than the DS one and the original one on the Wii was, the Trauma Center games. And it had very cool, interesting characters. And it was also the one that got, I think, the least amount of love. I think I had a neighbor that was obsessed with freaking Trauma Center back then. And I'm sure she would have probably played the one on the Wii. I know she played the one on the DS a whole hell of a lot. But Trauma Team kind of went under the radar for a lot of people. I don't even think she even knew about it. So Trauma Team would just be a fun game to bring back because it was so underutilized. It was swept under the rug. It's such a hidden gem of a game on the Wii. It has fun gameplay, fun anime visual characters, and if you want to do the Switch using the Joy-Cons, doing all the freaking surgeries and stuff like that, that was such a fun game. I would love to see it brought back and have a chance at more of an audience because I don't think it really did all that well back then. And the franchise is loved. It has its fans, but I think that was the black sheep of the freaking franchise, and it deserves a second chance at love and sales. Number 7. Another Wii game on this list. Man, there's a lot of Wii ones. And this is a franchise that's gotten a lot of love from Nintendo lately, but back then, this was the game. This was on the downward slope of the franchise before it really got, rebooted, reignited, and super marketing pushed into Nintendo, by Nintendo. And that's Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. I mean, to be fair, they should do a complete Ike package, double, Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn. In the perfect world, they would just HD remaster both of them and release it as a duology on the Switch. But Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn was such a fun, yet super freaking hard as hell game. And Fire Emblem's gotten a resurgence since Awakening. I would love to see them do more of the older games. And I want to still see them remake, freaking Genealogy and Thracia and stuff like that. Those should still be remade. But these don't need remakes. These just need HD remasters, which maybe could be a semi-remake too for maybe some of the models and stuff. But the Ike games were really fun, despite being really hard as hell. I remember renting Path of Radiance 2-3 times in a row just to beat it back in high school because I was that obsessed with the game. And that was when I first started getting into Fire Emblem was the Ike games. And Radiant Dawn was funny because I played Radiant Dawn before Path of Radiance. And I didn't know half of what was going on in terms of the story. But that game is super hard as hell. But that's the fun of it. That was the fun of classic Fire Emblem. But at the same time, if they remaster/remake it, they can probably add the difficulty options like the modern day Fire Emblem games have, and you can kind of give the newer fans a chance to experience the old Ike games, but also giving the older experiences for the older fans with the harder challenges and remastering it so people can actually experience Ike's games because he's still in Smash Brothers, and a lot of the fans of the freaking Fire Emblem franchise still have not played his games, but yet they can play as him in Smash Brothers. I would love to see Ike's games just come back in general, especially Radiant Dawn, but I'm assuming it's going to be a duology with Path of Radiance if they ever do it. Number 6, another Wii game. Yeah, this list is a bunch of Wii games, so there's a bunch of Wii games I would love to see brought back and just get some HD remaster on the Switch. And it's going to go to the Fatal Frame 2 remake. Fatal Frame is a franchise that's gained a lot of love on Nintendo lately, especially because they partially own, I think they partially own the franchise partially now. Nintendo. Fatal Frame started back on the PS2, had its love mostly on PlayStation, but it's got a lot of love on the franchise as of late because the Fatal Frame 4 game was on the Wii, it was exclusive to Japan, and I recall it being fairly well received, and a lot of people imported it. Fatal Frame 2 got a remake on the Wii, and that one was received a lot more better. And Fatal Frame 2 is like the best. It's the game in the Fatal Frame franchise that a lot of people love, and a lot of people say is the best one. So they remade that and made it better than it was on PS2. And then Nintendo fans got 5 made in the black water, which they recently last year brought back on the newer generation consoles, and the Switch is being one of them. How about Nintendo? You work towards getting, I forgot who even originally owned Fatal Frame, but work with them to bring more Fatal Frame games to the Switch, like the 4, I would say too, but that's not on this list at all, so don't expect that anywhere further on down the line. The Fatal Frame 2 remake, maybe a Fatal Frame 6 that's exclusive to the Switch. It's a horror franchise that a lot of people like. You have it in Smash Bros. Now. You partially own it. You should probably utilize it more and get more of those games out there. And a lot of the newer fans probably never, like I mentioned with the Trauma Team game, or mentioned with Klonoa, a lot of people never experienced the games back then. Have them experience it now. So bring back some of those old Fatal Frames while now they're experiencing 5, so you could push forward with a 6 or 7 or something for Switch later on down the line in a year or two, or their next 10th generation system or something like that. I don't know. Marketing, Nintendo, work on it. We are in the top 5. Sorry. We are in the top 5. And this next game was such a late release on the Wii U. And it came with a Wii version too, and if you know exactly the fact that this game was like super, super late, and you knew there's only like one game that ever did it that was released in the Wii U packaging, but it had a Wii disc in it with it, Rodeo the Sky Soldier. That game got shafted so damn bad. It was such a fun flying, platforming type of game, with cool characters, cool visuals, kind of a cool premise and story kind of a thing. A game that should have been experienced by more people, but they released it so late in the Wii U's lifespan, and released it on the Wii as well, because it was originally supposed to be a Wii game, and you bought 2 games for 1. And Rodeo Sky Soldier, I would love to see that brought out to the Switch so damn bad. That it feels like Trauma Team. It was never given a chance, I don't think. And I would love to see it on a modern day system. You can bring it to PlayStation 5 and Series SX all you want, but Rodeo Sky Soldier, it's pretty much like almost a Nintendo exclusive third-party game. So Rodeo Sky Soldier is number 5. Man, we've had very little Wii U games on this list. Maybe it's coming up soon. But number 4 isn't. Number 4 is yet another Wii game, and we got one of the Operation Rainfall games. Can we not get one of the other 2 as well? And Pandoras Tower. That was, I think, Gambarian? I forgot the name of the company. I think it's Gambarian or something. That was a cool as hell game. A cool, interesting premise. It was like very dungeon crawling, hack and slash adventuring gameplay. For the Wii, it had really good graphics. I would love to see the game remastered in HD on the Switch. That game would look even better, especially with how you've seen Xenoblade Chronicles get its definitive edition like 2 years ago. Can we please get like the definitive edition of Pandora's Tower? And like, cool, it was such a fun game. And finally getting Operation Rainfall to be successful and bring out these games really, really ended the Wii just right when the American fans started doing the Operation Rainfall stuff back in like 2011. But yeah, Pandora's Tower deserves some of these, like I said, and before going further, a lot of these games I want to see get ported to the Wii and get some HD remasters, or just ports, or semi remakes or whatever of the Wii. Wii and Wii U onto the Switch, because I want to see them get more love. A lot of these are really, really good, fun as hell games, but they never were really given a shot back then, and a lot of gamers missed out on a lot of these games. So that's why I want to see them join the ranks of being Wii and Wii U games being ported and brought over to the Switch. But yeah, Pandora's Tower definitely deserves more love. It's definitely like the black sheep of the Operation Rainfall games, and it feels like it doesn't get as much love as the other 2. Which, speaking of which, you're going to see one of the other ones later on down the line. We're in the top 3, and that other game isn't here just yet, but it is a game from Sega, and I mentioned this in the one-off games that deserve a sequel, even though it technically has a pseudo-sequel. But I'd like to see an actual game in the actual style of the game. and that's Mad World. Platinum Games, I think, made it, and Sega published it back in 2009, I think, when it came out on the Wii. That was the whole Death Watch and playing as Jack Heyman in the Sin City black and white style with the red being the only color you saw because of the blood. That was actually a really fun game, despite it being a little bit challenging later on down the line. But the whole like Death Watch, Death Match type game and all the gruesome kills and stuff you could do in that game, that deserved like that black and white style with red would look so good on a Switch if you just HD remastered it. And maybe that would hope to push Platinum Games and Sega to make a Mad World 2. I know Anarchy Reigns exists, but Mad World was its own thing. And I would love to see Mad World get some more love. And the music was nice. And like I said, I'm not a hip hop or rap fan, but that soundtrack actually really, really was good. Like really, really good. And Mad World would be my number 3, and definitely something I would love to see, brought out again. I mean, we finally got No More Heroes 1 and 2 back, and we get Mad World back. Come on, Sega. Come on, Platinum. Number 2 is going to go to that other Operation Rainbow game, The Last Story. And I mentioned this in my one-off thing, too, just like Mad World. Mad World has a pseudo-sequel, but Last Story has nothing. And I know Hironobu Sakaguchi doesn't want to make another game, make it into another Final Fantasy or whatever, but that doesn't stop him from potentially releasing an HD remaster of it on the Switch. And The Last Story was a really good action RPG game. And it really had that Final Fantasy feel without the Final Fantasy name. So you can have... And that game, it was definitely one of the best looking Wii games. Could you imagine if they HD remaster made it like freaking Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, and it would look even better on the Switch? And it already has good gameplay. They don't really have to fix up the controls all that much, and it had good story, good characters. It's definitely like I want to see the Operation Rainbow games get more love, and we haven't once they got their big boost in for freaking Operation Rainbow, and they came out on the Wii. We never heard from Pandora's Tower or Last Story again, but Xenoblade Chronicles, well, it's obvious because that's a Nintendo franchise. It got secondary love. Can Nintendo work with Gambarian? Can they work with freaking, Hironobu Sakaguchi and Mistwalker? I think his company's Mistwalker. Yeah, Mistwalker Studios or something like that. And just give these games a second chance at love. I really would love to see Last Story again. That was such a fun game. It's just having a modern day console. I don't have to go pull out my Wii in order to play the game again. It would be so much fun just to take out the Switch and put in the little cartridge and play it in HD remastered nature. Same thing with Pandora's Tower, and they could both join their Operation Rainbow brethren, the Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. We have all 3, the Triforce of Operation Rainbow on the Nintendo Switch. And before we get to number 1, I have a couple of honorable mentions here that I want to go over. This is where you're going to see a little bit more of the Wii U list. When I went back and I did this list, I'm like, I didn't have enough Wii U games to really kind of make its own top 10, because as much as I like the Wii U, it didn't really have many games I want to see pulled back and put on the Switch. But the Wii had a ton, so I just combined the list. That's why it's a Wii and Wii U list. But there are some Wii U games here, just in case people were like, "Oh no, the Wii is getting shafted." No, it's just I had way more Wii games I want to talk about. Zack and Wiki, a cool point and click kind of adventure game from Capcom that was on the Wii. It had really cutesy anime-ish type art style, really fun, energetic, cutesy characters. It definitely would fit really well on the Wii. Devil's Third from the Wii U. That game would probably do better with some better controls and some HD remastering, making the game look a little bit better. It had a fun concept that was just poorly executed, and I think Devil's Third would work really well in terms of being an upgrade if it was brought to the Switch. Earthseeker never was released outside Japan. I pushed that game like hell when freaking Operation Rainbow was coming out. I did my own little Seek for the Earth little group on Facebook that I haven't used that page in forever. And that was a fun RPG game I would like to see get a chance, because not only would it be brought to Switch, it would be finally localized, and it looks like a really fun RPG game. I'd like to get a chance to actually play it. Speaking of which, Fatal Frame 4, I mentioned that earlier. If Fatal Frame 2 Remake comes out, Fatal Frame 4 should get another chance at love, especially because it'd be finally localized. House of the Dead Overkill. I know they're remaking the first House of the Dead now, but House of the Overkill was just its own fun little thing, and just the crazy wackiness of playing that in co-op multiplayer with the characters swearing their freaking heads off and just all the blood guts, zombies, the classic House of the Dead type style. It was just an experience that I would like to get another chance to do again on a modern day console, and it would look even better in HD. Star Fox Zero would benefit greatly from not using the Wii U gamepad and then modifying the controls. In fact, it would be better probably just to make a totally new freaking Star Fox. I would like to see a Star Fox continuation that takes place after Command, but obviously Nintendo wanted to reboot and start back over with the freaking Super Nintendo and N64 styles and just Andros taking over the Lilat system. The cheap way is just fix Zero, and then hopefully we get newer games. I want to see the storyline continue like it was from Super Nintendo and N64 up to Command, with Adventure and Assault and 64 and all that in the middle. But obviously Nintendo doesn't want to continue continuity, so Star Fox Zero would probably be the best bet. NES Remix 1 2, that was a fun little mini game kind of thing, playing little like modified versions of NES games, and that was a fun thing from Wii U and 3DS, in fact, because they put some of those on 3DS. So yeah, there's 3DS. Legend of Zelda, Twilight Princess, and Wind Waker HD, their Wii U games were so good. They modified them and made it look so much better. Put those on the Switch. We got Skyward Sword HD finally, and I find it really weird that they didn't just add Twilight Princess and Wind Waker to last year for the whole Zelda thing with the big 35th anniversary. So hopefully sooner or later we get those. And then Lost in Shadow, which was a really fun platforming game on the Wii that just had a fun premise, and it was just like one of those oddball, like hidden gem type games that I really would like to see get another shot at something. And with that being said, drum roll please for number 1 on this list of Wii or Wii U games I would like to see on the Nintendo Switch. Yay! Xenoblade Chronicles X from the Wii U. Why, oh why, have we not seen that game ported over yet? Like every other freaking Nintendo game has come over to the Switch. Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore Edition now. We got Donkey Kong, we got Mario freaking 3D World, we got Pokken Tournament, we got all these other Wii U games finally getting their love and being brought over to the Nintendo Switch. But Xenoblade Chronicles X has not come over yet. You guys freaking did the definitive edition of the original. Can we get a definitive edition of X? I mean, I would love to see a sequel. I want to see Xenoblade Chronicles X 2. Whether or not that happens before Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is another story, but I would love more people to experience X, because it seems like that's kind of the oddball black sheep of the family of the Xenoblade Chronicles series, because a lot of people played 1, a lot of people played 2, and not a lot of people played X. And before we ever get a 3, and before we ever get an X2, if that ever happens, I hope it does, because this game was fun. Xenoblade Chronicles X should be ported over so people can experience the original before they go on to a sequel in the X part of the franchise. And with that being said, let's count down the list of my top 10 Wii or Indoor Wii U games that should come to Nintendo Switch. Number 10 was Tekken Tag Tournament 2. 9 was the Klonoa remake on the Wii. 8 was Trauma Team. 7 was Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. 6 was the Fatal Frame 2 remake. 5 was Rodeo Sky Soldier. 4 was Pandora's Tower. 3 was Mad World. 2 was The Last Story. And 1 was Xenoblade Chronicles X. And there's all those honorable mentions I mentioned. And that's it. You can look in all its glory. This list. My name is Snipe is Fun. Hope you guys like this video. Put in the comment section what you guys think. What Wii or Wii U games would you like to see on the system? Do you agree with any of the games I mentioned and any of the ones I didn't mention? Put in the comment section. Have some fun down there and discuss it. What Wii or Wii U games would you like to see ported, upgraded, HD remastered, remade, whatever on the Nintendo Switch? Because I'm sure you all would have more options on your mind. Probably your opinions would differ from mine, so I'd like to see you down there. My name is Snipe is Fun. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you later in the next video. Bye, everyone.